Hello everyone, my name is Phyllis. I live here in Newfield, New York. I'm a nurse, so I am here speaking to you as a nurse. Some of you may also know me as Kuan Yin, and I also teach yoga. So, getting down to what this video is about: social isolation, social distancing, why it is so important. In these times, it is vastly important. And I came across an article that was written by Jonathan Smith, a PhD en route at Emory, a lecturer in Yale, and he is an infectious disease epidemiologist focusing on the dynamics of disease transmission. And I hope I pronounced that word right. But anyway, getting down to the business of this, his post was very long, very wordy, and I know a lot of people don't like to read long posts. I've shared it on Facebook, but I thought I'd make a short little video summarizing it, giving credit to Jonathan Smith, because he describes it so perfectly. He makes two main points in his post. The first point is how young this stage of the disease is right now. We are right at the tip of the epidemic. We are right in the infancy of this disease, even following all of the guidelines to the letter, doing our social distancing, being very rigid with it. Things will get worse. I hear people who say, but we only have 48 cases in Tompkins. Yeah, but you compare that to yesterday and the day before and the day before that, where the cases are rising. And right now, if you look at the famous curve we're all familiar with, 48 cases, we are way down here. I think I've heard that there's only 2 cases that are actually in the hospital, and this chart is supposed to represent more of hospitalized patients. Okay, and we are right down here. And it could go either way, or at this point, we could do really well at it. We could do a bit of a failure. And for those of you unfamiliar with this chart, I'm going to go over this just slightly with you. This is the flatten the curve chart, okay? If no one did anything, cases would skyrocket. 20 yesterday, 48 today, 86 tomorrow, 132 the next day, 300 the next day. It just goes up until it crests and comes down. And this dotted line is how much our hospitals can handle. Okay? When we social distance, yes, there's still going to be 48 cases, 68 cases, 103 cases. Okay? It's still going to go up. It's still going to look bad, but not quite as fast. And that's the point of this. That's the point of the social distancing, so that when we reach the crest, then perhaps our hospitals will only have 5 extra patients that they don't have beds for, that they don't have respirators for, compared to maybe, possibly 50 extra cases with no beds, no respirators, and people crashing and dying. Okay? So the point of this is people will still get sick, people will still die, even when our social isolation is working. Okay? So you need to keep calm, keep isolating, stay strong, knowing you are saving lives by staying home. All right, his point number 2 is that each household is one unit. And you got to keep this in mind, okay? And don't itch your nose. I use a lot of hand sanitizer. I wash my hands all the time, but still, don't itch your nose. So the household unit is one unit, okay? One isolation block. So if Johnny goes out sneaks off to see his girlfriend, he puts his whole family at risk. And I've drawn a little chart with the exact scenario that, Dr. Smith uses in his post here. All right, so right here we've got, this blue is family unit, okay? And there's 2 naughty people in this family. Johnny decides he's sitting around bored at home. He's Skyping with his girlfriend every day, but he misses her. He wants that nice little cuddle on the couch and the kiss. So he's like, well, Jane's been socially isolating too, and her and I have both been really good about that. I'm going to sneak over to Jane's house. And so he sneaks over to Jane's house and sits on the couch and cuddles and talks, and that little bit is enough, okay? And let's say Jane's mom, June, is a nurse, and she goes to work, and Jake at her work has the disease and passes it on to her. All right, so June's whole family is at risk now. And now because Johnny has crossed the border, Johnny's at risk, and he puts his whole unit at risk. The family unit you are in is only as strong as its weakest link, okay? And right now, Johnny's the weak link of this family, putting his whole family at risk with someone who is in contact with someone with a disease, okay? And they think they're doing really good. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. They think they're doing really good. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. This family thinks they're doing really good. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing, okay? So Mike and Mary, the parents of the house, they're doing their best, and they're doing pretty good at the social isolation thing. But then Mary calls up her neighbor Sally next door and says, I just need to come over and talk to someone in person. Can I come over and have a cup of coffee? Who hasn't been there, done that? I need to get out of the house. Let me go hang out with my friend. Sally's been good too. Sally and her husband Sam, they've been social isolating, and they haven't been out in 2 weeks. They have not stepped foot off of their property in 2 weeks. So they're like, sure, come on over. This family seems safe. That family seems safe. Come over and have coffee. So Mom didn't know about Johnny and Johnny's little foray there. Mom's possibly bringing the disease to Sally, who spreads it on to her family. And that's bad enough, okay? And in today's age, the only one working, possibly, could be Sarah, Sally's daughter, the grocery store clerk. And I'll just let your imagination take it from there. And that's how, if we take some cheats with this, we could be just collapsing the whole thing, okay? And so, because I want to quote the exact source, and I find his words to describe it perfectly, I'm going to read Jonathan Smith's article that he wrote, Infectious Disease Epidemiologist, focusing on the dynamics of disease transmission. He's a PhD en route at Emory, a lecturer at Yale. How to protect your family. As an infectious disease epidemiologist, albeit a junior one, I feel morally obligated to provide information on what we are seeing from a transmission dynamic perspective and how it applies to the social distancing measures. Like any good scientist, I've noticed two things that are either not well articulated or not present in the literature of online media. I have also relied on other infectious disease epidemiologists for peer review of this piece. Specifically, I want to make two aspects of these distancing measures very clear and unambiguous. First, we are at the infancy of this epidemic's trajectory. That means that even with these measures in place, we will see cases and deaths continually rise globally, nationally, and in our own communities. This may lead some to think that the social distancing measures are not working, but they are. They may feel futile, but they aren't. You will feel discouraged, and you should. This is normal in chaos. This is the normal epidemic trajectory. To still see the death and the disease rising even when we are practicing good isolation techniques. So stay calm. The enemy we are facing is very good at what it does. We are not feeling. We need everyone to hold the line as the epidemic inevitably will get worse. This is not an option. This is the unforgiving math of epidemics for which I and my colleagues have dedicated our lives to understanding with great nuance, and this disease is no exception. Stay strong and stay in solidarity, knowing that you are doing What you are doing is saving lives, even as people continue to get sick and die. You may feel like giving in. Don't. You should perceive your entire family to function as a single individual unit. If one person puts themselves at risk, everyone in the unit is at risk. Second, although social distancing measures have been at least temporarily well received, there is an obvious but overlooked phenomenon when considering groups such as households in transmission dynamics. When social distancing decreases contact with members of society, it of course increases contact within a group, such as a family. This small and obvious fact has surprisingly profound implications on disease transmission dynamics. The basic mechanics of this mathematical principle dictate that even if there is only a little bit of additional connection between groups, such as social dinners, play dates, unnecessary trips to the store, the epidemic likely won't be much different than if there were no measure in place. The same underlying fundamentals of disease transmission apply, and the result is that the community is left with all of the social and economic disruption, but very little public health benefit. You should perceive your entire family unit to function as a single individual unit. If one person puts themselves at risk, the entire unit, everyone in it, is at risk. Seemingly small social chains get large and complex with alarming speed. If your son visits his girlfriend, and then you later sneak over for a coffee with a neighbor, your neighbor is now connected to the infected office worker your son's girlfriend's mother shook hands with. This sounds silly, but it's not. This is not a joke. It's not hypothetical. We as epidemiologists see it borne out in the data time and time again. Conversely, any break in that chain breaks the disease transmission along that chain. In contrast to hand washing and other personal measures, social distancing measures are not about individuals. They are about societies working in union. These measures also require sustained action before results are evident. It is hard, even for me, to conceptualize on how a population level, one quick little get-together can undermine the entire framework from a public health intervention, but it can. I promise you it can. I promise. You can't cheat it. People are already itching to cheat on the social distancing precautions just a little. A short play date, a quick haircut, picking up a needless item from the store. From a transmission dynamic standpoint, this very quickly recreates a highly connected social network that undermines much of the good work our communities have done thus far. This outbreak will not be overcome in one grand sweeping gesture, but rather by the collection of individual choices we make in the coming months. Notice he said months. We want months. Months means a flatter curve. Months is an important aspect and is a good aspect. This outbreak will not be overcome in one grand sweeping gesture, but rather by the collection of individual choices we make in the coming months. This virus is unforgiving to unwise choices. As the epidemic continues, it will be easy to be drawn to the idea that what we are doing isn't working, and we may feel compelled to cheat with unnecessary breaches of social distancing measures. By knowing what to expect and knowing the critical importance of maintaining these measures, my hope is to encourage continued community spirit and strategizing to persevere in this time of uncertainty. So I would like to give my thanks to Jonathan Smith for writing that piece, and I hope that you share this video far and wide. I will copy his post in the comments below. It's a copy and paste. I don't have an article link, so feel free to copy and paste his actual post and share that widely with your friends as well. Thank you. Be well, and namaste.